Mm-hmm. Let me pull up the chat. Yes, so I think in the email, the last reminder that I sent, ask everyone if it was okay, or, just kind of confirming that would be okay that this is a recorded meeting, just because we want to share with others and start building like a public like interface or web page or whatever this end up being documented at. So can I get thumbs up about recording? Okay, I see a lot of thumbs up.
Thumbs
Good.
up.
Great. All right, I think we're good. 12:04. I'm gonna pass it to Elle to kick us with introductions. And maybe you start introducing yourself, Elle.
Sure. Hi, I'm Elle Ramel. I'm a policy urban planner. I met Paula about 4.5 years ago, and we founded City Open Workshop. So it's a grassroots community that is formed with architects, designers, data scientists, and people who care about the urban environment. And we help to advise community individuals and organizations on ways to step through the projects they want in their communities, whether that's gardens or churches or corridors for restaurants. Yeah, so anyone can come. It's every other Wednesday, and that's me. And I'll pass it over to Paula.
Thanks, Elle. My name is Paola Aguirre. So in the screen is like one, like say your name, pronounce, practice. I don't want to, limit if you want to say your office. You can just say what do you do, and in one sentence, like what's your vision for a design collaborative in Chicago, or what do you imagine this network or collaborative group could do? All right, I'll go Paola Aguirre, borderless studio, she, her pronouns, and I imagine working with communities. I'm gonna pass it to Carrie. We can't hear you.
Sorry, Zoom fail. I'm Carrie Mistry. I'm an architect and urban designer with LBDA. I go by she, her, and I see this network being inclusive, interdisciplinary, and hoping, help influence positive change in our community.
You want to just pick a name, if you or if you know someone, just pass it.
Scott Cypher.
Hi there, Scott Cyphers, architect at Booth Hansen, design principal there. Yeah, I'm super excited about this idea of really engaging with our communities at a deeper level and making positive changes that are so needed at this time, and excited to get to know you guys more.
Pass it to someone else, even just pick a name.
Oh, hold on. How about Ernie? Passing the baton.
You would do that, Scott. I'm Ernie Wong with Site Design Group. A Friday lunch meeting is fantastic, and I love what you guys are all doing. So let's just keep this going. Catherine Dartstead.
Hey, Ernie, what do you imagine this thing could be?
Oh, well, I mean, I keep on talking about the biggest problem that we all have in our lives is communication, whether that's on small scale or a large scale. And the fact that we're doing this and actually having very honest and transparent or wanting to have honest and transparent conversations with different communities, I think is really important to really start to resolve the issues that we have at hand. And we aren't going to resolve all of them, but this is a great start.
Pass it to someone else.
Pass it to me.
Catherine.
Oh.
So Catherine Darnstead, Leighton Design.
and looking at what this collaborative could be as really social and spatial justice by design, whether that's through policy, through spaces, or even larger scale structures. So looking at where are the gaps already in our city from equity, and then where this could, you know, if design has power, where this can go, even as big as it might be.
Pass it.
I forgot. So I will pass it to James.
Hey everybody, James Silvestro. I'm an architect with Silvestro Design Operations. Happy to be here today. And I don't know, I guess I've been thinking a lot about mycorrhizal networks because I've been reading this really great book called Entangled Life. And just the way sort of plants, individual plants can communicate with each other through this sort of underground network. And that just sort of seemed applicable to this group and to the discussion today. So that's what I've been thinking about. I will pass it to Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm Sarah Herda, she, her, the director of the Graham Foundation and a board member of CAB. And I have a kind of working idea about this network. And what I'm really interested in is breaking down the silos and barriers that persist in design to create meaningful opportunities to work together with community members as equal peers, to put design to work, to realize more just and beautiful spaces for all in all parts of our city. And I will throw it over to Craig.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see so many faces that I know. And I guess my pronoun is he, his, and they maybe. But I normally go by Craig. And what I envision for the city is design that touches everyone. I kind of echo what everyone is saying. I believe in communication and going beyond boundaries and making sure that, you know, design is a powerful tool and making sure that that works for everyone in the city in an equitable fashion. I can't see, I'm on a cell phone, you all, so I can't see who to pass it to. So did anyone just want to jump in?
I'll pick
How about
someone
Gerard?
for you.
Oh, go ahead.
Maria.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Paola, for including me. I am a urban landscape designer, assistant professor in the Master of Landscape Architecture and Urbanism at the Illinois Institute of Technology. I'm new to Chicago, but I know a few in this call, so I feel very proud right now. And I would love this group to be a fantastic coalition to support social and environmental justice in the design.
Do you want to pick a name?
I popcorn to Ellie.
I popcorn to Gerardo.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for joining late. So I think I get a gist of what's going on here. My name is Gerardo Garcia, architect and urban designer with the Department of Planning and Development. You know, a vision for a design collaborative of Chicago would be one that really supports and makes design excellence accessible to communities across our great city, in my eyes.
Do you want to pass it to someone else?
Oh yeah, sorry. Let's see here. Brian H.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian. I'm an architect in Chicago, a bunch of community-based work as well, and I'm involved with INOMA. I am curious to see kind of what everyone else has in mind for the design collaborative. I've read a long time about how design get involved in neighborhood spaces or local spaces, almost in a way that's similar to what Maurice is doing with the planning department and sort of dividing up the city. So I'm curious to see what that might look like and if we might be able to facilitate something like that. And I will pass it to Tara.
Hi, everyone. She, her, hers for my pronouns. I am a senior urban designer with Skidmore. I really envision for this group a grassroots approach and just a wide net and collective coming together to serve as a voice for underrepresented populations and communities. I think that we all are, I know a lot of you on this call are brilliant minds, and we can come together to really invoke change into these communities. Thank you. Popcorn to, looks like Jose hasn't went.
Afternoon, everybody. I am Jose Espejo, pronouns is probably he, his. I work at Studio ARQ and also part of Arquitectos. And just with the Arquitectos, we do have this inclusion and being able to share a lot of knowledge or designs with everybody in the group. So we kind of line up with everybody on that aspect. So I think that would be it, and I would pop it over to who hasn't. I would say Jesse.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessie. I'm a third year MBA Master of Architecture student at U of I Urbana-Champaign. I'm really just here because we're starting our own community design center as a student organization down in Champaign, and I'm hoping to glean from your wisdom and also hoping to contribute a little bit since Chicago's my end goal. And I'll pass it on to Annabelle.
Hi everyone, my name is Annabelle. I'm working at BKO Architecture as an architectural designer, and I'm also teaching at IIT undergrad for architecture. I'm pretty new to this, so there's still a lot I need to learn what the group is doing, but I'm always interested in what Paula's doing, so I'm here. I read a little bit. I'm particularly interested in to help the Asian community in Chicago to have a better service for architects, because they don't necessarily understand the language and have access to that. I will pick Tom Jacobs.
Thank you, Annabelle. My name is Tom Jacobs. I am with Crick and Sexton Architects, also teach at IIT. My one sentence version is something that I'm going to give Doug Farr credit for. About maybe 18 months ago, he said, in Chicago in particular, we have so many really great practices, but we are not working together well enough. So I would love to see this tying into an effort to create a Chicago community of practice. And I will pass it on to my partner, Mark.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Mark Sexton, Crick and Sexton Architects, and I see the Chicago Design Collaborative as certainly a group that comes together and really can connect with community. I think the purpose of what we do, in my mind, is to bring design that does have purpose, resiliency, as we're finding out in today's world, but also inspiration. I think there's so much common buildings and what have you. I think we can bring some level of inspiration to neighborhoods that have been sort of left on the side. So I think that's one of our, should be one of our real goals here. And I'll pass it on to someone I brought into ARC, which is Alan Barker.
Thanks, Mark. Alan Barker, I'm with Lamar. I'm an architect with Lamar Johnson Collaborative. And as Mark mentioned, also involved with ARC, Architects Reimagining Chicago, all reimagining Chicago. And to echo Tom Jacobs' sentence, one sentence, I think the power of this is, and the opportunity here is that it could become a platform for sharing knowledge rather than keeping our conversations within our current circles and our current firms. let's share that knowledge in a non-competitive way. And I think that in the end, we'll all be stronger architects and stronger designers and stronger community members in doing so. Let's see, I've got scrolling through here. How about Brian H?
There's a little hint in the chat about who haven't gone.
Oh, sorry. Help me out. Somebody go. I can't get to the chat right now.
Chandra, Grace, and Nicole, I think, are the last three. So if Chandra, if you want to go.
Yep, happy to. Hi, everyone. I'm Chandra Christmas Strauss, she, her, hers. I'm a urban planner and environmental policy advocate at Enterprise Community Partners. My vision for this collaborative would be to connect the values of community to systems change work. I've been talking about doing a designer's pack for a while, and so I would love to think about how this group could influence structural change in policy work. And I will pass it to Grace.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace. I'm here with Open Architecture Chicago. One thing that I see within this is sort of how each individual has, you know, everybody's doing their own thing, everybody is working in their own way, and coming together on this network, this sharing, this exchanging, this learning from one another, seeing where we're doing our individual work, and then coming back together to kind of talk about the overarching thing. I see this as a really powerful way for us to more intentionally and impactfully moving forward, because it's very clear that, you know, there is a need for greater connection between different streams. And I will pass it on to, we have one person left, right? Nicole?
I'm Nicole Ashurian. I'm a designer at Crick and Sexton. I actually moved to Chicago fairly recently. I am really excited about the promise of collaborating with community members and other designers to really create a place where people are very proud to be involved in.
Cool, thank you everyone. This was, this is one of my favorite parts. We always start City Open this way, and it's just always wonderful to see all the faces. I put the slides in the chat primarily because, one, I know we all process information very differently, but I'm literally gonna fly through them, or we're gonna fly through them. So if there's content that you wanna like look closely later, we encourage you to do that. We're gonna spend about 9 minutes, 10 minutes, just going through some background information that we thought it was important as part of like set leveling and bringing everyone up to speed. I also encourage everyone to join a conversation in the chat if you're comfortable with that. I think there are parallel ways of having this dialogue. The three partners in this effort are, one of them is City Open Workshop. As Elle mentioned, we've been, we established this, we incubated at ArchiWorks, if you're familiar with that, 4 years ago, but then quickly kind of developed a community of people that were interested in just connecting communities to design processes, and we collaborate with multiple organizations. There is our website on the bottom left in case you're curious to learn more about it. And we can also set up a one-to-one to like bring you, just share more about what we do.
So Leighton Design is an architecture firm, but we have been looking and worked with many of the organizations on the call today, which is exciting, but have been thinking about what the formal process of a designer's collaborative or organization would be for a few years. And so it was a natural conversation to work with City Open and also Chicago Architecture Biennial. So next slide. And I'll kick it over to Sarah.
I started talking without having my unmuting myself. I'm getting really good at this. The biennial started in 15. We've had over 1.5 million people experience the biennial since then in 3 iterations. You know, I think fundamentally we want to give the public access to boundary pushing ideas, and we want to give practitioners a platform and the resources to develop and share their ideas. We are shifting to a new year-round programming model, so it's not only that exhibition every 2 years, and we're introducing different kinds of programs and formats like fellowships, reimagining kind of enhanced youth learning initiatives, continuing dialogue through different kinds of events, and exploring new program formats. And that's where kind of this collaboration fits into what CAB's kind of future is.
And you know, we've been asking this question often in this group around like why, and I think you have different versions. Your answers were an answer to this in many ways. Like one, there's so much happening. You know, we've been learning recently, you know, multiple efforts, either led by the city of Chicago or civic organizations. So I think it's important that designers have an active role, but we need to see like a clear picture, like overarching picture. Equity is obviously becoming a really like a value that needs to lead a lot of our efforts, and we need to think, you know, in the midst of defining recovery, what does that look like, and what role do we want to play as an organized community? And then meaningful collaborations. I think, you know, many of you already do that. I think we have practices that span in different capacities and different experiences. And, you know, just by working and together and creating the channels to do that, it's some of the things that we're responding to. This conversation has you know, this is the best way that we found to like frame this collaboration. And, you know, we're inspired by others that are doing this work, not necessarily in the design field. I mean, the only one there is the Center for Urban Pedagogy, but like civic journalism, civic tech, community advocacy groups are doing like fantastic job establishing their form of platform, their form of network, and it's been really fantastic to learn from them. Like City Open is kind of inspired in some of this in these things. How do you do it from like community-led effort perspective? And we're really learning from some of these efforts. New York recently launched through the Van Allen Institute, Urban Design Forum. Sarah was really keen on bringing this to the group, like immediately seeing like what types of frameworks can we look from and learn from. And some of them are civic-led, civic response. And, you know, they can help us to just bring some awareness. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I think we're gonna kind of emphasize this here, that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are others that are doing the work, and what can we borrow? What can we adapt? Sarah, do you want to share a couple of insights on like what you've learned so far about about your communication with the Van Allen? Just because this is a really, really important precedent.
Yeah, I think that they also, I think in the notes, there's a link to the initiative, and they had a really amazing kind of kickoff moment. But I was speaking with Deborah, their director, and it was really for them a way for the organization to kind of respond what was happening. And it was immediately important to kind of collaborate on the same level with other organizations and fundamentally with communities, and to be really mindful of how they worked with communities, who they worked with, and to really use this initiative as a way to sort of test bringing the design community together with community around specifically the effects of COVID in the hardest hits, or some of the hardest hit parts of the city, and thinking about like what like kind of life can grow out of this as a collaboration that may be active, kind of ongoing in the city.
Yeah, I think what's also interesting is that the multi-organization collaboration, like 2 organizations leading, and, you know, like I think we're trying different things to be responsive, and looking at what other cities are doing, but also looking at what our city is doing. We have examples that are local, that have been working for a while. Not sure many of you, if you are familiar with Elevated Chicago. This is an initiative that is more place-based, but looking at transit, at equitable transit-oriented development as a tool to understand communities that have not seen investment in the same pace and capacity that others, and using transit, right, like public infrastructure as a way to look at that. They have their own way of framing their process and their working communities. And they're also invested in this idea of systems change and the theory of change and all these things that enable other type of relationship and collaborative work. So all these are resources for us to look at and reference, but also to guide us. I think there's a lot of work that has been done and we can be looking at. And, you know, I go back and forth around like what are the resources that we have available to enable some of this discussion. So this is a first attempt to like framing this effort. We ask for your time. We ask for your commitment over the next 3 months just to have a consistent dialogue. I don't think we're gonna, I think we need multiple conversations to arrive to some of this. If you're interested in being part of the core planning group, please send us a message. We will have like more meetings outside this meetups, but this is a way to kind of start framing what does this process look like? And the idea is that in order to not reinventing the wheel, like we need to learn from others and what has been done and how others do it. So we are here right now just trying to have this initial dialogue and discussion, but also getting some feedback on this framework. And the main kind of like idea right now is learning how, you know, community collaborations work, how academic collaborations. I think schools are really good at setting up groups and putting resources behind their faculty and other researchers, how institutional collaboration and what networks and platforms and models are emerging that we can learn from and start, you know, kind of shaping what we would like to create or propose as a collaborative. So to the right, and I'm already like, we haven't talked to Craig, but or Grace, but like, we would love you to share your practice at Open Architecture. And you know, these things can like move back and forth, but like the idea is to elevate the practices that already are in place and learn the most that we can out of it. And you know, because we have together only 1 hour, I think I would suggest a couple of things. One, if you have like broader questions about like, I really need to sit with you all and think like, how do I fit into this? We can do a one-on-one or like a smaller group discussion. I think for the limited time that we have today, we really want to encourage or like have conversations in smaller groups and deep dive into some of these topics. This is the framework that the working framework that we have for this session. And if you have not selected a group, you can either put it in the chat or you can put it in the document that has notes. I think Elle is going to help us to break up. Elle is going to send us to breakouts, but I will open for a couple of like general questions. And the last thing I want to go through is, again, and being mindful that we have limited time, it's important for these groups to like agree on how do we want to work together. And I just laid out a couple of agreements that we have in other working groups, being respectful of you know, everyone's time, and really thinking of this as a learning space, not making assumptions that we all know the same, but also acknowledging that there's a space and time to like have different discussions and dialogues. I also,
Paula?
yes.
Just quickly, are people going to put in the notes where they want to join, or is this randomly assorted?
I would like people to sign up. And if I put in the notes, maybe I'll just show you all. If you open this link, I'm going to transition into this document. If you all have access, many of you are signed up on this one. There is a part down here that has breakout discussions. If you haven't, this is page 3. If you want to start adding your names in these different breakout discussions, that helps us to just send you to a breakout room.
And just know that you're not being committed to this conversation for the whole entire, 6 meetings. We're going to go into these in deeper dives every single meeting. So we're the part of that schedule that Paula laid out is trying to look at these topics and give them the time that they deserve. This first meeting is starting to look at, where do people's interests lie, so that when we are organizing more deeply, we can make sure that we're tapping the right individuals who have that interest. And if you don't know yet, we could randomly assign you for today's breakout session. So take a minute or so to add your name. And if you're unsure and you just want to hear more, we'll randomly assign you.
Hey, can you all just randomly assign? I guess I can go on outreach just for right now, but I'm also going to switch to my laptop. So I'm going to jump in.
Craig. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in off my laptop right now.
Do you wanna select a group and then we'll just write?
Yeah,
you could just throw me an outreach for now.
Okay. I love this like simultaneous writing. Ernie, where do you want to be? I can also.
Oh gosh.
No one's with Sarah. Oh, Gerardo, thank you.
Yeah, just randomly assign me.
Okay. You can also just address everyone. My group's going to meet in the main room with the coffee and the donuts, with no coffee and donuts. So you can always come out. You can always go out to the middle, and I can resort you through chat if you change your mind. There's no pressure.
Yeah. Okay. I don't see Phil here. Okay. Okay. Are we all? Does everyone have a group? Give me a thumbs up if you have a group.
Not everyone has a
Where are you
group.
going to be?
I am going to let you decide for me. Okay. So.
Okay. I'm going to put you with Sarah. Is that okay?
That's fine.
In public programming, I think you're very active in that anyways. So. Yeah. Who else? Ellen.
This is Mark Sexton.
Yes.
Could you put me in missions, values, framework?
Yeah, I can do that, Mark.
Perfect.
How's the first week, man?
All right.
It should be good. All right.
Yeah. All right. Elle, work your magic.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Have fun. Don't be scared.
There's a button that is popping in your screen, I think. It says join breakout room. And then you'll prompt us at 12:50 to come back.
Great.
Okay.
Tom, where are you wanting to go?
Yeah, I was going to say I would like to join the strategy group.
Yeah.
All right, strategy is D. Yep. One moment. It's confusing because I have so many rooms going on. Gonna move you to 3. Bye, Tom.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Is everyone else okay with network?
Yeah.
Hey, guys. I will take notes in the document. So my questions for you are.
Oh, I'm muted. Can I move to the hi L?
What's
Can
up?
I move to the mission group?
Sure. See you later.
Okay.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Hey, you all.
Hi.
Hello.
Is this the outreach group? I jumped off for a second.
Yeah, this is the outreach.
Okay. Nice to meet
Great.
everyone. Meet everyone.
So I wanted to just, my group here is addressing, for this network, who are we missing? Whether it's a designer or a community organization or even another type of professional. And then what kind, so that's the first question. And then we'll move to what types of outreach to reach those groups or ways to get them involved in this collaborative. So just quickly, if you think, can you think of any types of people or individuals where this would be a great fit for them?
In terms of the question was who are we missing for this group?
Yeah. Whether
I
that's
think
a designer or a community organization or advocate.
I think Dion Lucas from Beehive should be in.
And can we first talk about, and maybe I missed this in one of the previous meetings, but what maybe our ultimate goal is? What are we striving towards? And then I think that could help define exactly who we want to bring in.
Yeah, so I think there were a couple goals and they're still going to be fleshed out. That was a great question. One of the things we're noticing is sometimes when there are projects or prizes or initiatives in Chicago, it's very disparate. Like the Central Area Committee like puts together a group of architects, and then the mayor does, and then it's like this helter skelter. Move away from my partner in his call. And so we were just trying to figure out a way to unify that notification of opportunities for designers, and then also allowing the public to understand what's going on. You know, if there's a corridor initiative or there's like a rain ready, just more transparency to the communities that everyone descends upon. And then what we Paul and I've seen is like 6 people will call Englewood, Greater Englewood Development Center and like quiz them and like not know the history of all the other people who have like called them for a charrette or a town hall. So it's part historical archive and then probably part more like a network that can all be unified for all of these opportunities where designers are being asked to collaborate with community engagement.
So I'm also just trying to learn more today than maybe contributing today. So are we involving the public too in this group? And
There's been conversations about public programming as well. And so that is something that we're weighing. I'm laughing that Paula made me lead this group and she's doing the mission of this group in the first group. So I feel like Paula. So I think mission will start to codify what this group is as well. But there was public programming as an idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess one thing that comes to mind just when you talk about the Greater Englewood group is finding a way to sort of codify all these different groups and what they are about, and who they are, where they are, what the sort of missions are for them, so that there's more of an understanding through this network of the needs that are out there.
Yeah, that's a great point, James, where sometimes people are like, oh yeah, we talked to Chinatown, they're great. And I'm like, no, you talked to 10 people in the left, like southwest quadrant of Chinatown.
Yeah.
Right, so it's also like not a comprehensive lens on engagement too, right? So I think our hope is to perhaps get a little bit more awareness of like, you know, I worked on Michael Reese and like we would talk to like just one council, but it affects like a very large area. And so sometimes there's just so much homework to get through of like all the groups that someone should talk to and as a designer. It can be a little nebulous.
Sure.
Like, I know a lot of people in Chinatown that like, you know, the business owners there, I know they probably need help, especially in this kind of situation. No one's going in their restaurants. They really want to open their business on the street, but they don't know how. I don't know. I feel I'm still a little confused about how it's like we have a great mission and then the goal is really kind of, there's a lot we're trying to do. You know, like you said, it's not about talking to people in the community. It's talking to a lot more and understanding actually what the people need. And I'm a little bit having a hard time understanding how we're able to do that. Like, are we starting with talking to few people and then opening up to more, or are we assigning someone that collecting ideas or?
So I'll present like, for example, I'll present like why this collaborative idea came up, for especially with the Chinatown example. So there was an idea of having several architects rebuild corridors to open restaurants this summer. And Carol Ross Barney's team was going to work in Chinatown, but they actually had designed the concept and had yet to talk to the Chinatown organizations. Meanwhile, the business community was launching their own Chinatown Mall initiative separately. Additionally, the Asian American community was also like focused on this as well. So you had like community mobilization, the design community initiated by Maurice Cox. And so we saw the mess of like, the engagement was over here and the designers were over here and they were doing good work. but they hadn't yet talked to the other organizations. So for example, something like COVID shows up, everyone gets really intent on the solution, but it's happening so fast that you don't have that history of like who was engaged in, like, it can't be the only time Archer Avenue was like thought about restaurants. And so we don't have that history of design, right? We just have this like, oh, we should do something in Chinatown. And then we end up with these, you know, initiatives that don't involve everybody. So I don't think it's actually, you know, a huge lift on like going door to door. I think it's just more that sometimes I see in a neighborhood like 7 different efforts coming in at once. And I think if we all compared notes, we would know that we were all working on the same project in a different lens.
I see.
So isn't this effort, or couldn't one part of this effort be as much about us as designers talking to one another and less about, or in addition to making sure that we're engaging and talking to the community, but we should be we should pay attention to each other first and foremost.
Totally. That's probably the first step, right? It's just if you have a project in Englewood and I have a project in Englewood, and you know a developer's coming in with an RFP for a project in Englewood, I always felt like you never needed 6 traffic studies, right? And another thing is the comparing notes, Alan, I think is the richness of it too, because we end up doing overlapping work as well. Demographic studies, like we end up doing the same work over and over again.
So this is still a network for designers. It's
at
not
the
a
onset
network for, you know, kind of everyone in this process, right?
Well, no, because if you think about it, if you have all the designers unified and there's a one spot to ask a question, then, you know, I wish I had a whiteboard, but if the designers are in a network, then community organizations know that instead of just, they can call one architect they trust as well, but the architect can then let everyone know, I am working on this project at 63rd. Is anyone else engaged on 63rd? And so there's more of a power of massed projects versus disparate projects in the same regions.
I feel like this sort of thing, Elle, is it's not structured. It's not formally structured in. I'm thinking not in community engaged practice, but in commercial practice. You know, that we do, and so this isn't a formal thing. But I know certain people who are connected with certain things, and if something comes up, like
right.
Just related to something that I need to do. Oh, I remember that so-and-so worked on something, and I can call that person. And
right.
so
and it's like in your head, Alan, right? Like if they didn't, if you have to remember it.
100%. And it's my internal network as well. And so I might have a better network than somebody else over here. They might have a better network than me, than I do. But I think that's the power. Like there's a real power in that network. And it doesn't necessarily have to be specific to an initiative, or it's just about connecting people. And without getting really, really specific about how we engage, and it's just about having an open line of communication and getting together regularly enough that we feel comfortable reaching out to people, just knowing what everyone's doing and feeling comfortable reaching out in a knowledge sharing, to share knowledge rather than in a competitive way. Because I think that, I mean, yeah, we all compete for a lot of this work, but there is so much sharing that doesn't interfere with that. So a long-winded way of saying, even if we don't identify, like, let's bring this specific person in, let's just make sure, let's open a channel of communication that we can talk to one another.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Because the stronger that network gets, the more those people that you think you're missing will start to sort of, you know, you kind of generatively come to the group, and then it expands kind of.
Yeah, and so then rather than pulling in, like making sure we have a community person and planning and at this and this and this. We have each other, and we all have our own networks. And as we share our needs, you know, James, you can put me in touch with so-and-so, and Annabelle, you can put me in touch, you know, with somebody else as specific needs come up.
Another thing that, you know, I don't know if maybe with City Open is we are pro bono advising about communities with questions. And so we could recommend a design name from this alliance, but people come to us with like, okay, I have a church. What do you think an incubator would work inside? And we can be like, well, how big? Like we ask like diagnostic questions, like how big is it? Do you want to have a garden? And then we recommend different firms or different opportunities for them. And so I think there will be a community component, because all I do at City Open is answer, like right now I do patio permitting questions for the winter. That's all I'm doing right now, right? So there is going to be this opportunity for people to come and ask public questions. But then it's like knowing the network of people like, oh, I actually know that all 6 of these architecture firms are working in South Shore right now. Like I have no idea. I have to read Cranes right now and Block Club and like comb the developer world, right? And I was always so annoyed when I was leading Michael Reese and Related, because we would put bids in for electricity at the same time. And like even we could have probably known like we were going to screw each other on that, right? Like at some point, like ComEd just got mad at both of us. So I think that's my example of like, if we are doing macro regional questions, like as we design, we're like, oh, it'd be great to do electric vehicles in the South Side. I'd love to know who else is trying to get that done, because then I can like put all of us together and be like, Mayor Lightfoot, we all want to do electric vehicle design work on our roads. Yeah. And it's stronger than me just like having a passion for it. So that's where we are. It's very new, guys. So thank you for bearing with all of my, Paula has a vision in her head and I'm like the assistant. So I appreciate your patience with me.
Every day.
But yeah, we're going to rejoin now, but
This is a great start. I think we'll
like,
get there.
You guys are asking great questions. I'm like, hold please. So
trying to understand it better.
Yeah. So we're in the middle. We're not going to leave, so we can still hang out.
Okay.
I guess when I asked the question of is this network of designer, it's because I think when you started this group, you threw out the question about who are we trying to involve more.
Yeah.
So I thought that question is more like, other than the designer, well, who else you want to involve network? So
yeah,
totally.
And I was going to say the same thing. I mean, you know, because we do pro bono work at Open Architecture Chicago too, and most of our work is completed through social capital, right? And so when the question of more comes up, I'm always thinking about the different leverage points in the system and of who do we need to have within the network that can point us what's taking place, what's going to take place in the future down the line, and that usually occurs outside of the design world. That mainly, I do a lot of work with politicians and keeping up in those sort of worlds or entrepreneurial worlds, just because we're usually the last ones to find out.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking is, I think there is a public lens. I think there is a politics. Like I'm not a designer, right? So my world is mostly hustling politicians anyway. So those are the kind of things. Paula, you sent me into the network thing and they're like, what's the mission of this? And I was like, Paula. So thank you to my breakout group for like asking wonderful questions that I had some answers for.
Oh, sorry. Cool. All right, it's report back time. Did you guys get a chance to put your slides together? Man, only Kathy.
I did.
Damn it. We'll start with you then. I need a few minutes to put ours. So why don't we start with you? I'll
share your screen, please.
Yeah. Okay. Time in Zoom is not real.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. All right. So we had a wonderful group. We just started to look through strategies and outcomes and kind of thought about this as what are projects in process and then what are organizational outreach or additional research. That research, I'll start there because I already saw some overlap in organizational names in the Google Doc, but we started to cultivate a list of who's doing the work elsewhere in the country, right, that we could start to learn from, but then also who needs to be part of maybe some of these future conversations, and see where other partnerships could exist, you know. So definitely we've reached out to AIA Chicago, the knowledge communities, and the foundation. So they are, you know, who's working on parallel initiatives. There's outreach to ULI, there's representation from Elevated Chicago, but then also starting to think about who's doing this work in other cities. We know we have presentations coming up from Detroit Community Design Collaborative, but we look at, you know, New York organizations that have this, like the Design Trust for Public Space, or also Center for Urban Pedagogy. So we started to talk about that. But then also we look at projects in process. So what are some of the outcomes that come from this? You know, could it be policy research and recommendations? So we talked a little bit about projects where there was good design collaboration and representation in the room, like Healthy Chicago 2025 plan, where, you know, buildings and planning decisions directly impact health. And we're seeing that right now as well in Chicago with COVID. And also a variety of other issues. So, you know, can we start to create policy research and recommendations that parallel other larger initiatives, or is this collaborative invited in the room? So other examples people can share where there have been good collaborations that you could reference, and where there have also been no collaborations. So sometimes as designers, we're like, you know, you see something and you're like, no one designed this plan. Like, or like you see an initiative that might come out of a city, you're like, no, I don't think anyone designed this or thought about space. So where can we even reference that? So other things is talking about short-term response examples. So over the past couple of months, Architects Reimagining Chicago and DPD have been working on some corridor redesigns for open space and open living. And so that's an example of short-term responses. So this is something that's really kind of like a very rapid 3-month response from start to release. So that's a short-term response. And then how can that become long-term investments? So that was the kind of idea that someone mentioned. Can there be, you know, parallels where now these short-term responses now have kind of community design teams that continue to work in those neighborhoods and continue to follow some of maybe those short-term responses as part of a research initiative? Can there be leaderless design networks, right? So is this an organization? What's the structure of this collaborative? Is it an organization? Is it a nonprofit? Is it just a resource that other people feed into? Do we create a framework and help point and deploy networks to different issues? Or is there actual organization and a structure? And like, is it actually ever in a space? Is there a door somebody can go into and say, we want design collaborative services? You know, so that was things that we don't have answers to, but have out on the table. The other thing is thinking about, you know, can there be more public facing toolkits and bring design awareness and make design and permitting less opaque, maybe for communities, so that they understand how the built environment kind of comes to be, both at large and small scale projects. So that's what we got to in 15 minutes.
Wow, you're very efficient. All right, Elle, you still typing?
Nope.
Okay, I'm gonna pass
You gotta refresh it.
Okay, go.
So our group wanted to first understand the goals and mission of the Designers Network, because I think to assess like who are the formalized partners and then who are the more informal support networks. All great questions. I was like, stay tuned. But I think the biggest thing is, how can designers share open questions or parallel work in like the same neighborhoods or region? So one of the examples was, if there are 6 projects going on in Chinatown, do they even know about each other? Are they like asking for the same funding or the same traffic study? Could we push the mayor's office or planning department and be like, listen, we're all doing projects in Chinatown. We need one traffic study. And so we also wanted to honor the history of other efforts and grassroots community design work. So oftentimes when you go into a neighborhood, it's like the 10th version of the quality of life plan. So it'd be great to just be like, well, let's not try to pay someone to do that again, because they already did it. And then important to include transparency in the public and community organizations. So we talked about even just having the designer network be like all of our networks in our heads being more formalized. place people could go, and then the public and community groups could come either to City Open workshop with questions or just know this exists. So if they're like, wait, what's going on with this project that, you know, Leighton Design is working on, I'd love to learn more. It would be more of an availability of like, oh, Leighton's in that neighborhood, but did you know these other two firms are as well? And then we pointed out the involvement of other AEC groups like engineers or, you know, different, like, you know, developers are also people that know a lot of this stuff, and then political and government officials, because our neighborhoods are our strength, but sometimes it means that like those ward borders are silos.
Cool. Sarah, you want to report back from the public programming dialogue?
Sorry, I'm just trying to put my slides in.
I can go. So from mission values framework, we got a lot. Sorry, I just literally copy and paste. But we talk about, you know, elevating the work of smaller efforts, like they're usually like there, but they don't get visibility. Promoting, I'm just picking and choosing from this list. So promoting alternative role models, especially for younger generations of designers to like know there are other ways of like engaging or like working with communities. Transcend interdisciplinary boundaries, cross-pollination of ideas and synergies. I think there's a lot of alignment in this and like excitement, and also, you know, serve as a resource for communities. Like we are a resource. We should not be driving conversations whatsoever. We are a resource. You know, I really find interesting this idea about the values that around acknowledging multiple streams of work and their value. So value, process design and like physical design don't have the same value right now, right? And they probably take the same amount of energy. And oftentimes knowledge has so much value from our communities that we don't value as designers. So some of those conversations. Also this paradigm shifting that I really liked around like, we are part of the community. We should not be, even in the way that we reference our work as designers, like it's not them and us. It's like we are part of a group, and like how do we find our different like roles, and not thinking as outsiders. Some ideas for organizing framework are around like quarterly touch points, enable different capacities for engagement or collaboration, and a continuation of shared resources. I think that was mentioned as well in yours, Elle. Some examples to look at. I'm really excited to just start, you know, I love research. So as many of you probably do, and I can't wait to like do a deep dive in some of these examples. Sarah, can I pass it to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we kind of came up with a series of questions, and it was really around what kind of, what's the role of organizations in this collaborative of this moment of bringing ideas in public together? How do we bring ideas about design to communities, sorry, that's missing something there, to communities that don't usually have access to design excellence? How can there be a public programming process and presence throughout the life of a project? So from the conception, from the beginning, through design development, but also design and construction takes time. So through the construction process, like how is that an opportunity to create a forum and a presence throughout the life of a project? How do we build trust in communities to create forums to listen, learn, and collaborate? This was something that was kind of said over and over by folks, is that how do we get there early? How do we get there don't come with preconceived ideas, but really set up a forum to collaborate? How do we communicate the importance of design to the community, as well as the importance of community to design? So it's not one direction. And how do we bridge generational understanding and engagement with design through communities? And then one of the last points that we were talking about is how do we introduce programs that are not only based upon a specific design project and trying to get buy-in from that community, but create forums to explore design ideas more and process more expansively. So it's really just forums to talk about design, and not just the pressure of like, we're bringing you together because you need to make a really specific decision about your community, but that it's a kind of a more of an educational sharing. Like we want to look at these different examples and resources. Like, how do we do that with, in communities?
Thank you. Catherine, you want to close us?
All right, so we went a couple minutes over, but I want to thank everyone for their time today and the insight and the feedback. It's very good overall. It's exciting. There's a lot of energy and trust that the four of us on here have been doing a lot of background work before these meetings come to fruition. And so there's also a lot of background work going on to like create the collaborative. So that'll be forthcoming. But from here to the next meeting, please take some time, review the notes, review the slides, add to them. You know, I know everyone has to digest all this information with more time. So we look to everyone on the call to really look to add to the information and kind of determine maybe an area that you do want to focus some of your energy, or two areas you want to focus some of your energy and expertise over the subsequent meetings. We will be taking deeper dives in each of these areas in future meetings. So they won't only get 15-20 minutes of discussion. They'll have, you know, full hours moving forward. And I would also like to kind of say that I'm feeling very encouraged that this is happening. And I think it's something that many of us on the call have talked, you know, on the side about for many years. Like, why are we such a big city and Chicago doesn't have this thing that, you know, Philly has or Greenville has, and we just don't have this thing. And, you know, it's very encouraging to know that we could create it. We've always had the power to do that. And I think this is, for many of us, might be a vehicle to understand the true power of design and planning and how we could have a greater impact. So I will let everyone start to drop off if anyone wants to add any final comments or questions. And we will see you otherwise in 2 weeks. And we will we'll look to see who did their homework and added stuff. I will assign homework and I will call on you.
I will send the links to this as well via email, so you have them as well in your inboxes, and we'll share this recording with folks that couldn't be with us today. But yeah, feel free to stay. This is the end of the meeting. Elle, if you want to stop recording. Or if you want to wait for me, I would love to do like a screenshot of us. Yay! Or at least smile.